What a lot of people don't understand, if you've never played on a broadcast court or on TV, that you can hear the announcers. And so the announcers will sit there and talk about like what bag they think you should throw or what they think you will throw or all the different shots. And so like you're trying not to listen to them.
My name is Adriel Loshak, and the goal of this channel is to help all players achieve whatever level of cornhole they choose. Whether that's to just win more at your local blind draw, or like me, become an ACL pro. I'd like to thank Lori Dool for being interviewed, and I'd also like to thank her sponsors.
I'm ACL Pro, Lori Dool. This season, I am sponsored by Lucky Bags Cornhole, East Coast Beach Baggers, and 360 Communications. And then my charity of choice this season is the Bills Mafia Babes. My journey to become a cornhole pro started a long time ago. In 2019, we played in a tournament sponsored by Landshark, and they sponsored the top male and the top female from 12 different bars across 4 different states to come and play in Myrtle Beach. I got partnered up with Ricky Montez. Ricky and I at the time were kind of, we weren't partners for sure. We were more of like rivals. And we ended up going to that tournament. And I think both of us probably had the best day we've ever had and had got the number 1 seed. And, being unexperienced competitive players, ended up getting double dipped by Sam Finley and Hasib, push in the right direction to start, aspiring to be pros and wanting to do, these big tournaments and traveling every weekend. And then COVID hit not shortly after that. And we got a lot of practice playing. We were playing in every different virtual league, whether it was Ghost or Deck Around, just started to pick up a lot of traction that way because we were constantly on social media. I turned pro in August of 2020.
How often do you practice?
I play most days a week. I'm one of those people that I don't really think that practice is going to help you in those high pressure situations. Sure, if you need the reps, if you can't get out and go play in, your local blind draw or have an opportunity to go and play. But I really don't sit outside and practice by myself because anybody can hit an open board when it's in your driveway, as opposed to having to hit, that clutch shot for, the next game or to win or for a lot of money. I think that just kind of comes with time and practice of putting yourself in high pressure situations.
So your suggestion is to go to as many blind draws and bigger competitions as
I think it really kind of comes down to a lot of different situations of, well, what should I do? At this point, everybody can put a bag in the hole when you get to a certain level, but you've got to strategically be able to beat your partner, not just by putting them in the hole, but by making the right decisions at the right time and trying to hit the right shots. You're not going to get any better at that if you're not playing against someone. Obviously you could practice with somebody and that, that's a similar situation, but it's different when you're just playing, in your messing around in your driveway and warming up as opposed to going and playing for something, whether it's a podium picture or to get your $10 back. I think that you just need to get out and actually play against quality players as well.
You meet an opponent for the first time, no idea how they play. First bag, block, or slide in?
I'm going to slide in. I'm going to see if you can't keep up with me. And if at one point, you're better at it, then that's when I'm going to really start trying to mess around and throw some blocks. But if I have the first bag, I'm putting it in. We're going to start out strong.
At what point do you start blocking the first bag, or is there not a point when you start doing that?
Really, I just kind of like to throw in different blockers just to kind of mess things up a little bit. Different situations. Am I playing, males or am I playing females? Females have a tendency to keep the board clean and just try and, go hole for hole. But I think that the less experienced players are going to potentially have the opportunity to mess them up by just trying to throw blockers and just to see kind of what they're going to do and what's going to happen. In cornhole, you have absolutely no idea because you could be 6'5" and the worst player, or you could be a little tiny female walking up to the board and, you come out and you're probably one of the better people at the tournament. You've just got to get good at reading people's body languages and how they warm up. Most of the time it comes down to a couple of different bags. There's really not, too many blowouts anymore that you're just going to, continuously win 21-0. Not at this level.
Is there a strategy that you just go to automatically?
If I'm going to throw blockers, I want every blocker is going to be in a different spot. I'm never going to put the blocker in the exact same spot. Like sometimes I might put it right in the middle. And then the next time it's going to be maybe further down the board, or it might be a little bit further over in your lane. So if I'm throwing on the inside, I'm throwing over the board, and my opponent is right-handed, I'm going to probably put it a little bit further over on the right just to see what they do. If they keep missing to the left, I'm going to throw one off just a little bit off to the left-hand side of the hole and see if they go and try and chase it. It kind of depends on where you're standing on the board, and if you're playing a left-handed player or right-handed player. All of those different things factor into where the bag is going to go. Is it sticky? Is it slick? You've got to factor in all of those things.
What's the most meaningful match you've had?
The biggest one for me was in the shootout finals in 2021. My first game was against Christine Papke, and at the time, she was the most winningest female in cornhole. This was right at the beginning of when Cheyenne really started to catch fire. And so Christine still held that record. And that's all they had talked about for the entire 2 weeks leading up to that event, was that she was the most winningest woman and that I really didn't have a chance. And, kind of where I was at that particular time in my personal and my professional career, to come out and win that game and win it in a big fashion was the most important, because it just kind of solidified the fact that I didn't get lucky to win that shootout, that I earned that spot. And I think that people started to realize that after that game.
If you would like to help support the channel even more than watching videos, please subscribe. It helps me a ton and it allows me to upload videos just about every day. Do you prefer singles or doubles?
I'm going to get in trouble with Miranda when I say this, but I would much rather play singles. I think it's really hard to play doubles with somebody that you really, outside of like a blind draw, but somebody that you value and that you put a lot of effort into, not only your relationship but in your cornhole game with each other. And, there's some days where you have better days than others. And when you don't have a great day and you let your partner down, you don't ever want to do that. If you don't play well in singles, you have nobody to blame but yourself. And so if you're just not at the top of your game that day, then it is what it is. And you've just got to go back to the drawing board. In doubles, I think it's a lot harder to figure out, well, did I just not play well? Did we not mesh well together that day? Whatever the case may be, it's much easier, I think, to rebound better in singles than it is in doubles. And I think that I would much rather put the pressure all on myself than to have to put it on anybody else but myself. I like open doubles much better than I do anything else, just playing in rounders, because we have an opportunity to just go out and have fun and meet people. And it's, obviously you want to perform well at an open, but also at the same time, it's a little bit more laxed where you get to go and, have a little bit more fun and meet people from all over the country, depending on, where you are. You may have never seen them before. So that to me is a lot of fun. I enjoy playing blind draws, especially when we get to go and travel. You get to meet a lot of cool people. But yeah, for the bigger tournaments, if I'm at the pro level, if it's pro singles or pro doubles, 100% pro single.
Is there anything you do to prepare for a long cornhole day?
Absolutely. First of all, you got to get up with a positive attitude and just get ready. So you got to start out with some fun music to get ready. 100% you've got to eat a quality breakfast. You know what I mean? You can't just walk into a tournament without a high protein diet and expect yourself to be able to go all day, because most of the time we don't get to eat. And if you do, the concession stand food isn't like, super high quality. You probably catch like a hot dog or like a cheeseburger, like chicken tenders, like in the middle of the day, which isn't great for your system. So you got to fuel up in the morning and just, walk in with a clear head. That's the hardest, right? Especially on those like Friday mornings when we have to walk in for pro doubles and teams. Most of us are still worried about how we are going to get there, work events, meetings, things like that are still happening on Friday while you're trying to go out there and play cornhole.
What's your go-to music and what's your go-to breakfast?
My go-to music, we usually start out with Ludacris radio. So it's just a random mix of whatever happens that day from Spotify. And then for breakfast, it's always like eggs, sausage, bagels, a lot of milk, any way you can get as much protein as possible. I'm one of those people that really tries to watch what they eat, especially out on the road, which is, like I said, super difficult to do. But I'm constantly trying to consume about 85 grams of protein a day. So if you have to cram that into breakfast, you're trying to eat, I like to call it Gaston style, where you're trying to eat lots of eggs for breakfast. If you don't get that reference, it's from Beauty and the Beast.
Do you bring prepared food?
Different venues have different rules, and some of them are more strict than others about like what you can bring in and what you can't. But in my bag, yeah, there's always like some snacks, like some almond snacks or like Quest snacks. Those are pretty good and pretty high in protein. I always have tuna fish packets in my bag, which is really weird, but again, like it's high protein. But when you're on the road, it's really hard to like have prepared meals. I know when we go to Worlds and we drive up to Rock Hill, we pack coolers full of food so that we have like pre-prepared meals. Uncrustables, another huge snack that we always have with us as long as we drove to the venue. Great mix of like sugars and carbs and protein. So those are a good pick me up throughout the day. Most of the time, they'll allow you to bring that kind of stuff in, but you just can't, walk in with a huge stack of like McDonald's or Chick-fil-A at most of the venues. Pretty strict because obviously they're trying to make money too.
How do you deal with the pressure that anytime anybody meets you, that they're going to be getting their best game?
That's one of the hardest things, and we talk about that frequently, is that, we kind of want to go back to like being nobodies because that happens. There was one time, and this happened last season, but I went to a regional. I had the second highest PPR in the building for the day, and I went 0-2. And that was just because everybody wants to come out and throw their best game, against you. It was really hard at first to feel like I constantly had like an X on my bag, but also at the same time, I feel like it gives you a sense of accomplishment. Like people know who you are and they want to give you their best game. So I think that, if you can aspire other people to be at their best, I think that that's one of the biggest compliments you can get in this game.
Are there any questions you wish I would have asked?
Make sure that we're building the right kind of cornhole community and really encouraging players to, play at whatever level that they want, whether they're aspiring to be pros like yourself, or if they just really enjoy coming out and playing on Monday nights, in the Duffy's parking lot. Whatever cornhole means to those particular people, that's how I want them to value the game. As long as people are out and participating and playing. Look at like Steve and Hayden. Okay. They are two of my favorite players. They have been playing with me since I started running leagues 5 years ago. They're, your typical local players, but they're still, out every Monday and they're still throwing and they're still aspiring and wanting to win every week, even though, traveling and things like that are not their goal. Doesn't mean that they can't value cornhole in the same manner that you and I value it.
If you enjoyed this video, click here for the next. I hope all 4 bags go in the hole, and see you next video.